here with you. This may be my last live stream of the week due to the mini vacation that me and my family are going on. Starting tomorrow evening, we will be going to Akron. So apologies in advance for that. So I definitely wanted to get this last stream of the weekend. I'm very much looking forward to this time with my family, though. It's April Fool's Day. I don't have any elaborate April Fool's prank that I'm going to play or anything like that. It's one of the days that's frustrating to be on social media because sometimes people, like some things you can obviously tell it's April Fool's gag. Other times there's things that you're like, oh, like one of my friends put on social media, I saw that came up that they were in a wreck. And I was like, oh, that's a bummer. And then a couple hours later, I was like, oh yeah, they probably weren't. For all I know, they were in a wreck. I guess, but I would guess that's probably not the case. I don't know what kind of joke that's supposed to be anyways. But anyways, there you have it. No April Fool's joke here. We got a good show here today. It'll be funny because it'll seem at first glance like the stuff that I've been saying about having somewhat of a problem with how the Alien Enemy Act has been used by the Trump administration and how I feel that there needs to be sort of a due process bright line given before some level of proof to offer that these people are actually in this gang. My commentary today will seem opposite of that, but it's not, and I'll explain why. And we'll talk all the ins and outs of this particular scandal. One thing I forgot to talk about yesterday is we were talking about the EU falling into a state of disarray. What's the name of this movie in UK? Adolescence? Is that the name of the movie? And it's about some white kid. This white kid. Oh boy, he's radicalized by the right wingers online. And so he'd be stabbing and killing people. Of course, the real life incident was an immigrant young man. This stuff happens all the time. Not only do they racially change casting in ways that make the good people look like people of color, oftentimes when there are heinous villains, they recast real life situations into white people. I commented, one of the first times I remember talking about a movie review on my channel, in fact, I've only ever done it like twice, was the one Jurassic Park movie. I don't know if it's the newest one at this point, but I saw it a couple years ago. Spoiler alert for that one new Jurassic Park movie. Basically, my commentary was two things. There's way too many characters. Like, they brought back Jeff Goldblum. They brought back everyone, and it just makes for a stilted movie. Like, the one villain character that was a lady, she just, like, disappears at one point in the movie. It's like, okay. But there's just not enough screen time for how many characters that they're trying to go through because they're like trying to bring back characters from every era of the Jurassic Park movie. But the other thing was, if you wanted to know on the new characters, like who ended up being a good guy, every person of color you see ends up being a good guy. So very simple. And it's just like, okay, even at first they seem like, oh, they're working for the corporation, they're probably bad people. No. Anyways, it's interesting how we're, reframing that no one wants to talk about the elephant in the room. And it's one of the things that I find so frustrating. By the way, it's something that you see that exacerbates what people claim is legitimate. Well, not what people claim, like legitimate racism. When you're told that you can't talk about certain things, it ends up making people think that there's more to it than just that. So, for example, if we start having a bunch of hate speech laws about Israel, it'll have the inverse effect. It'll cause anti-Semitism to rise because people will be like, why is this group the only group that we're not allowed to criticize? The same's true with any sort of group that you try to do that with. And so what you end up seeing with this situation like in the UK is, well, we can't talk about this actual problem with migrants. We have to pretend that, no, there's not a problem there. And then what happens is that radicalizes people even more because they have more contempt. But that's not really what the show's about today. I just forgot that that was one of the things I'd written down to talk about yesterday, and I totally forgot to get to it. So today's show, we were going to talk about Social Security abuse. We'll put that on hold. Maybe we'll talk about that as more information comes out about that in the coming weeks. I also wanted to talk some about the Ukraine situation. We have New York Times wrote a piece showing that, surprise, surprise, the U.S. was involved more with the on-the-ground planning early in the war than we were led to believe by the Biden administration. I'm shocked. No. What's up, man? It's been a while. But a more pressing thing to talk about today, the left's latest Signalgate didn't get him anywhere. By the way, Mark Halperin, who I really like, he was saying on his show yesterday that he thinks that there's a good chance that Mike Waltz actually ends up getting fired over this whole deal. And he probably would have been fired by Trump already. It's just that Trump didn't want this Jeffrey Goldberg character to look like he had a victory by Trump being forced to fire someone based on his reporting. But apparently Trump and a lot of people inside the cabinet are really pissed off about Mike Waltz, and they're not believing, nor do I believe, his bullshit explanation that, oh, no, I never talked to Jeffrey Goldberg. His contact just got added somehow, but I swear I've never talked to him. Apparently they're not buying it. But anyways, that's it. That's the big scandal with Signalgate. Didn't work. Polling from CNN today suggests that the Democrat Party's approval rating is, are you ready for this? 21%. 21%. So with all this scandals that you hear about Trump, it's just like the first term. Regular people don't give a shit anymore. Now, there's legitimate stuff. I don't give a shit if Trump's approval is at 99% and the Democrats are at 1%. If Trump does something I think's worth criticizing, I'll criticize him. If the Democrats do something I think's worth praising, I'll praise them. But it's clear that their strategy isn't panning out so far. They desperately need some sort of scandal. You like Trimu? Yeah, maybe English isn't your first language, or maybe you're like me, you got fat fingers and make typos all the time. I do have fat fingers, by the way. Not only are my fingers fat, but I also have a deformed thumb. So, let's talk about the newest scandal. So, The Atlantic reports last night that a Maryland father who has a 5-year-old handicapped son and a wife who is a U.S. citizen tragically has been sent illegally to El Salvador. And the Trump administration admitted that they made a mistake with this. But it's too late for them to do anything, they're claiming. And this is terrible. It's a lack of due process. It's disgusting. I mean, this is horrible. And coming from someone like me that said that I had problems with how the Alien Enemy Act was being presented, it sounds like this would be an argument that was right up my lane. So, of course, the story seemed fishy to me. First off, it was in the Atlantic, so I was like, okay, let's read this story. You go to it. It's behind a paywall. I can't get to it in my phone. So then I found a way to get behind the paywall, read the story. And even in the story, it's very vague in what it's trying to say. The way the story's making it seem, this guy was just this normal dude from Maryland who got lumped in with being MS-13. But the only thing about him being MS-13 was basically a bunch of people said he got picked up at a Home Depot, and a bunch of people were like, yeah, maybe this dude's MS-13, and the cops are like, we're not buying it. And that's it. And then the Trump team took that story and ran with it and said, this dude's MS-13, ship him out. Well, it turns out almost every aspect of that story is provably bullshit. That's not what's going on. Now, let's steelman the argument to begin with. Yes, it's true that it seems that there was an order against his removal specifically to El Salvador that it seems like Trump's team is claiming they made a mistake or perhaps they intentionally violated. That's it. That's the story. And there may be people that have a big problem with that, and that's fine. You can have a problem with that. But that's the story. This was not some U.S. citizen from Maryland. That's not what was going on. So let's give the background of what happened here. This guy came to the country illegally in 2011 or 2012. And by the way, more and more details of this are coming out. Like, it's frustrating to me because a lot of times people aren't just putting the source material, they're putting screenshots of like the judicial reviews and the cases themselves, but then you can't read the whole case. So I think I finally dug it up and read all of the relevant stuff. So it seems like this is what is agreed upon. This guy came into the country 2011, 2012, around there. For 7 years, he did not claim asylum. He did not legally report to a port of entry. He lived here for 7 years. In that time, he had failure to appear for several traffic violations. Inevitably, when he's picked up outside of this Home Depot and he is arrested with other people, an informant claims that this guy is a member of MS-13. A judge agrees that there's enough for him to believe that, to deny him bail for potentially being dangerous and a member of MS-13 and for being a flight risk. So then the guy says, oh, I'm claiming asylum. But his asylum claim is denied. Then he tries another tactic and says, actually, I'm fearful to return home to El Salvador because the gangs in El Salvador want to hurt me. And it's because my family owns a small business. And so when I came into this country, I was sent here by my family because these gangs were threatening to beat me up or recruit me or torture me or whatever. Now, the family has since sold off the small business. But apparently, now we're on 13 years after this guy came to the United States. Gangs in El Salvador are still licking their chops to get at him. That's the claim. And so a judge says, okay, even though there's a removal order, so this guy's supposed to be deported from the United States, there is a temporary hold on him being deported to El Salvador specifically. That's the claim. So now let's look in the grand scheme of things. Yes, it appears that that order, which was issued in 2019, and all through the Biden term, so the last 2 years of the Trump term, and then 4 years of the Biden administration, no hearing was offered, no further proof was required. This dude just gets to stay in the country. He's supposed to be removed, but the only country we could remove him to is El Salvador, which he's claiming I can't go to because I'm fearful. And so there's basically just this, okay, well, we can't send him there temporarily until we have a hearing so he could offer proof of this. They sent this damn family man. They sent him. Let's go in backwards order of what you hear people saying. MS-13. There's no proof that he was MS-13, just this cop's word. Yeah, I don't give a shit. A judge bought it. A judge bought it enough to deny him bail. You don't have to prove someone guilty beyond a reasonable doubt like you do a U.S. citizen before you would convict them of some crime. Neither it is a crime to be a member of MS-13. But clearly the INA says you can deport people for pretty much any reason, and being in a criminal gang would be one of those. Thank you, Robert Whaley, for becoming a member again. Thank you. I really appreciate it. So the level of proof isn't the same. Unlike with the Tren de Aragua, at least in this situation, this dude sat in front of a court. Judge said, I think there's enough evidence of reasonable suspicion that he's a member of MS-13. The judge specifically said, I'm not buying the argument that it's just about his clothing and stuff like that, but the informants seem reliable enough. So when I hear people on the left that are on social media, prove it. What's the proof that he's a member of MS-13? Proof is the judge said it. That's good enough for me. If you don't like the standard of proof that judge set, what you're really doing is proving, which what ultimately this is about, is that the people that are flipping out about this want to grind deportations to a halt. That's the truth. And so every single person will deport. They'll say, well, wait a minute. The courts, I disagree with the court's decision. I disagree. I didn't think that it was the level of proof. So they're going to bitch anyways. That's the truth. Notice how they ignore what the judge said. And they're going, oh, but if you read the Atlantic says that the cops, were like, we're not really sure. This was just hearsay, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I don't give a shit about the Atlantic's opining. That's what the judge said. Notice they're not giving the same scrutiny to the claims that he doesn't feel safe in El Salvador. No one's looking at that and saying, well, what was the proof he offered? They're just saying, well, the judge said, you can't deport him to El Salvador. That's good enough for us. But when the judge said he should be removed, well, or he's a member of MS-13, what's the proof? What's the proof? Furthermore, I could concede the entire argument. I could say, yeah, the dude's not a member of MS-13. Okay? Let's do that for the sake of argument. 100% guy's not a member of MS-13. He's an illegal. He's from El Salvador. Send him to El Salvador. End of story. That's it. That's different than the Trinidad situation. Aragua, whatever the fuck. That's talking about sending people to El Salvador who are not from nor have ever been to El Salvador to go straight to prison, as opposed to sending them to their home country, which presumably would accept them. If they say, we can't tell you where our home country is, if the home country refuses to accept them, then maybe you send them somewhere else. This guy is an illegal. He's from El Salvador. I want to make this clear. As much as I think following the rule of law is generally important, the asylum system has been intentionally sabotaged so bad that I just don't give a shit. You're an illegal, you're from this country, you go to that country. End. I don't give a fuck if it's selective. Every single illegal in this country, every single one. I don't give a fuck if they're from North Korea. I don't give a shit if they're from China. I don't care if they're from France. I don't care if it's El Salvador. I don't care if it's Venezuela. I don't care if it's Brazil. Send them back. I don't give a shit if all of them need asylum. The asylum system has been intentionally taken advantage of to crush this country. Therefore, the American people will no longer accept. We, through the goodness of our heart, said, yes, we understand that there are small numbers of people across the world that may need to come to the United States for protection. The Democrats, the NGOs, the open border people said, good, we'll send you 15 million people. Eat that shit. Now we say, it's too much. Sorry, we're not accepting any of it. Again, I go back to the example. It's Halloween. You're giving out candy, but you can't be home. You put a bowl of candy out. You put a sign that says, hey kids, please take one. You have a Ring doorbell camera. You see your adult neighbor come, and he takes all the candy before any of the kids get it. Then the next year, the same thing plays out. So the third year, you put up a sign that says, sorry kids, I can't leave candy this year. And your adult neighbor, the same one who stole the candy the previous 2 years, knocks on the door and says, you don't care about the kids? That's terrible. That's the Democrats. That's the open border people. That's what's going on. Sorry, I missed 2 super chats there. Biggs, 8,500 for $2 says, we should send all illegals to France. Vita for $2 says, agreed. How's this not the same for the TDA case? It's not the same for the TDA case in several ways. One, we could already deport them back to their country of origin in this case, which would be Venezuela. No one's suggesting, oh, take this guy from El Salvador and throw him in a North Korean prison. No one's suggesting that. You're saying, send him back to El Salvador. If the government in El Salvador treats him poorly, hey, his mistake. Should have claimed asylum in a different country between El Salvador and the United States. Sorry. Blame the Democrats. Secondly, there is enhanced penalties when it comes to the Alien Enemy Act. It's accusing someone of being a terrorist, of being in this gang. I don't think you have to prove this guy's a member of MS-13 to send him back to El Salvador. If you did have to prove he was a member of MS-13 to send him to a country, then I would say there needs to be some hearing and some level of proof in a court showing that this guy's a member of MS-13. You don't have to prove that. He's illegal. Send him back to his country of origin. Does anyone not see the difference there? Yes, Venezuela, after threat of sanctions, agreed to take back their people. If Venezuela doesn't agree to take back the people, then I have no problem with Trump saying, cool, then we're going to send them to El Salvador, but that's completely different than the Alien Enemy Act. Does anyone have any other questions of why this is markedly different? Is there one person that we did? What percentage of people do you think, if we tried to deport, would say, hey, I feel fearful of the country you're about to send me back to? 85, 90, 95%? So currently, we have a court system that was incapable of giving this one guy a hearing in 6 years. 6 years. So now, the millions of people that we're going to try to deport, every single one will say, wow, or a huge portion of them will say, but I feel fearful to go back to insert country. Gizmo the Fisherman, thanks so much for the $20. Says, you're right, though, we need due process. Yeah, they are great countries, right? Why not throw them back to the borders where they entered? Many came through ship. Maybe many overstayed visas. So why not just send them back to the country of origin? Sounds sketchy and a way to cut the line. I don't give a shit if it's a way to cut the line. If you're illegal, you should be deported. I don't think that there should be a list of, oh, no, you're illegal, but a different type of illegal, so we won't touch you until we get all these other illegals. Fuck you, you're illegal, take your chances. You'll be more on the radar if you're committing more heinous crimes. He was an illegal that they knew the whereabouts of that was from El Salvador. They had an extra seat in the plane that was about to head to El Salvador. They said, guess what, bud, you're up. See ya. They also believe he's in MS-13, which is a violent gang. See ya. Congress is feckless. If they weren't, they should immediately pass a law saying, we will no longer accept any asylum claims and we're revoking all asylum claims. That's what they should do. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. Sorry. I don't give a shit about international law. Fuck you. If the international community has a problem with it, then they can step up to the plate and say, we will personally send airplanes to bring these people to our countries. Problem solved. Sounds good to me. That's right. I do not give a shit. That is absolutely right. Let me make it clear. I feel terrible for individuals that are decent people that will end up being deported. I don't give a shit. They need to be deported. I feel terrible for people that get drunk behind the wheel and kill someone that were good people, and then we have to lock them up. I don't give a shit. Lock them up. I just don't care. I don't care. No matter what, if we try to deport masses of people, the Democrats will go, no, he was a good man. He was a good man. He's, my God, where he's coming from, some shithole. It's all these shithole countries. When Trump says there's shithole countries, that's racist. But they're shithole countries. We can't send them back. Oh, my God. He's just a father from Maryland. Oh, my God. No. Fuck you. Sorry. That guy guy probably would have been able to stay if the Biden administration didn't bring in 12 million people. But they chose to, so they ruined it for everyone. I don't give a fuck. And if the Democrats want to die on the hill of, we must keep this guy who's accused of being MS-13 in the United States. He came in 2012. He never claimed asylum. He never said he felt threatened in El Salvador until he finally got caught and was about to be deported. Then he said, I feel threatened, and so now he's got to stay in our country for 6 years without having a hearing. Fuck you. See ya. His family, perhaps they could plead to the government of El Salvador to let them in as well. Sounds good. It's the only way this is possible. It's the only way. What's with what innocent, Rick? Go ahead. Go ahead, Rick. What innocent? So we're talking about the story in the Atlantic of this particular guy. I've explained this situation with this particular guy. So what innocent are you talking about? I'm talking about everyone who's in the country illegally. 0% of them are innocent. You know how I know they're not innocent? Because they're in the country illegally. Therefore, they're not innocent. Those that came here under asylum, their asylum should be revoked. The Supreme Court's already said that a deportation is not a punishment. Therefore, we're not punishing the guilty. We're sending people that don't have a right to be in our country back to their country. That's it. Now, what's the innocent that you're talking about? There might be one innocent guy. There might be one guy that's affected, so we can't deport anyone. Sorry. Is there any question in anyone's mind that people like this Rick guy, no matter what, any amount of people that are deported, is going to listen to the Lincoln Project, the Bulwark, Midas Touch, the Atlantic, that are going to say, oh my God, these were great, good people. You can't deport them. It doesn't matter. You could deport one or you could deport 1 million. It's going to be the same bullshit from these people. The exact same bullshit. The truth is, these people do not want the deportations. Just like they didn't want the border secure under Biden. They lied to you. They said when it was an election year and they saw how massively unpopular the open border was, they said, oh boy, no, trust us. We care about the border. They never gave a shit. They lie right to your face. I'll tell you exactly what I believe all the time. These motherfuckers lie to you constantly. Over and over. Oh no, we want a secure border. We really do. Trust us. It's just that we have to let everyone in all the time and we can never deport anyone. That's all. But we really wish we had a secure border. Rick, who apparently doesn't speak English as a first language, says, but illegally in a country is a human crime because they are desperate. So it's human, you know. Yeah, I don't give a shit. They're illegal. I don't give a shit if it's because they're desperate. We were willing to help the truly desperate as Americans. Americans have a big heart. We were willing to do it. That system has been exploited by Democrats, by open border Republicans, by NGOs, by our tax dollars that goes to the USAID to pay NGOs to help facilitate millions of people coming across this border and helping them game the system by learning how to say the right things to claim asylum. Sorry, you have taken advantage. You have broken the back of the American system, and now the American people are saying, we don't want it anymore. Send them back home. And the media and the Democrats that wanted this, that wanted the open borders, that were more than happy that they were changing the demographics and they thought they were changing the voting preferences of this country, that they were eroding national borders and getting rid of nationalism. Now they're going to plead and say, no, it's terrible. It's a human casualty. They should have thought of the human casualty of the people that actually were desperate when they were intentionally allowing millions of economic migrants into this country. That's what they should have thought about. You fucked up, Rick. You who probably voted Democrat, you're responsible. Biden's responsible. The Republicans in Congress that allowed all of this illegal immigration for years on end, they're responsible. Now that we're sending people back because of your fuck up, sorry, you go explain to them. Why don't you move to El Salvador and make it a better place with them? That's the truth. Don't be inhuman. I feel that you're being inhuman by calling me inhuman. Why are you using dehumanizing language against me? Don't, fuck you, man. Don't be inhuman, please. Fuck you. Fuck you. I can't make this more clear. Fuck you. Send every illegal home. Fuck you. You are a lying scumbag. You don't give a shit about these people at all. You do not give a fuck at all. You did not give a shit that the illegal people that were coming here were making the communities they were sent to worse. You don't give a shit about those people. You do not give a shit that the illegals that were coming here and exploiting took away seats from people that actually desperately did need help. You did not give a fuck at all. I don't give a shit that they're desperate people. How many of them have you put in your home? I could name you 10 desperate people in my town right now. What are you doing for them? What are you doing? They're desperate, so we have to let them in. Here's another question, right? How many desperate people do you think there are in the world? You pay for Social Security. So do I. I choose not to help them. Fuck off. They're getting Social Security numbers and then getting things like Medicaid. I don't give a shit that you pay Social Security. What have you done? What have you done? Have you taken any in your house? Nah, you haven't. Let's say that there are 2 billion desperate people in the world. So if they all decide to come to the United States, we have to accept them all? Because they're desperate, right? No, this guy isn't illegal. He is illegal. He had an order of removal. He did not come through a port of entry. He came here in 2012. He did not come through legal means. He was caught in 2019. There was an order of removal that he was to be deported, and then he was given a stay on that removal. Not removal in general, but you couldn't remove him to his home country of El Salvador because he claimed that he felt scared to go there. So no, he was not legal. He is an illegal. And those that came here legally through a port of entry and claimed asylum, every single one of them should be revoked. Every one. Every single one. If you haven't got citizenship yet, sorry, goodbye. Because at this point, everyone's going to say, yeah, I came from Venezuela. I'm afraid to go back to Venezuela. Asylum. Sorry. Too bad. The people that lied have ruined the system for everyone. I feel terrible. I feel terrible for the illegals that came here and were just seeking a better way of life. I feel terrible that the Biden administration pushed things to a breaking point where now the American people are saying no more. Yeah, no problem, Joseph. But they're desperate. They're desperate. I don't care. I don't care. Based on that logic, before Bukele came into power in El Salvador, it was like the homicide capital of the world, right? So couldn't a legitimate claim be made that the entire country of El Salvador's people could have moved to the United States and said, we're desperate, we're afraid to go back to our country. So we had to accept them all? What about Haiti? How about sub-Saharan African countries? Just accept everyone, right? They're desperate. What about Chinese? I feel threatened by my government. What's your proof? Trust me, they've threatened. Well, I guess they're desperate too. What about Russians? How about Ukrainians? It's a different issue than yesterday. A guy from El Salvador comes here illegally. We send him back to El Salvador. Issue one. A guy from Venezuela. Instead of sending him back to Venezuela, Trump says, we're going to use the Alien Enemy Act to say this person is a terrorist fighting on the behalf of the Venezuelan government, and so we're sending them straight to prison in El Salvador. I don't give a shit. It's up to the government of El Salvador what they do with this guy once he's back in El Salvador. That's different than intentionally sending people to a country where they've never been when you could just send them back to the country that they are at, where they came from. Completely different situation. I have no problem, none, with every single person in the Tren de Aragua gang, every single one that was sent to El Salvador. If they quickly looked and said, oh, you're illegal, you're not a U.S. citizen, you're going back to Venezuela or whatever your home country is. Zero problem with any of that. See ya. I do have a problem saying, but we're going to go a step further and say not only are you illegal, but you're a member of a terrorist gang, and we're not going to give you a chance to say, no, I'm not. We're just going to send you. And we're not going to really tell anyone what the level of proof was that we had. I just don't give a shit anymore. Congress should immediately revoke all asylum claims and end all asylum claims. There's plenty of other better... Look, we always hear how much better Canada is and how much better European countries are. Let them take the asylum seekers. Sounds good. It's working out swimmingly there. In fact, why don't we just send everyone to Canada? I talked about this years ago. I remember writing about this in 2018. Canada is a great place. They're not a bunch of racists like us in the United States, right? And all the illegals are great people. They commit less crime than the average citizens. And they're a boon to your economy. So why do we, the shitty American people, deserve all the great benefits of these illegals? Let's send them to Canada, where there are good people, so that the good people in Canada could benefit from the great illegals that massively benefit society. We don't deserve those benefits as bad people. Everybody wins, right? Oh, Canada doesn't want them. Well, I'm sure that another progressive country will take them. I'm sure. It's not happening. Great replacement theory. It's lie. It's bullshit. No one wants people to move here so they can vote. And then you hear the Democrats, well, the ultimate goal is to give them a pathway to citizenship. The border's secure. What are you talking about? Well, okay, we left a bunch of people in, but if you vote for us again, we promise we'll secure the border this time. Oh, and by the way, you can't deport anyone. A lot of this, I haven't seen what this Live for Life's saying, but Live for Life probably hates the United States. A lot of these lefties, that's how they feel. They feel that white people and the founding fathers and Christians are all evil and they deserve to be punished. And so that's why they want the illegals here. They think that's good. And I get it. A lot of these people have fucking no life and their lives are fucking miserable. And so they want to inflict that on everyone else. Let's leave it up to democracy, right, baby? Let's see what the American people think. They want the illegals deported or not? Come on, third Trump term. Fourth Trump term. Let's do it. Rick, I don't give a shit what you say. You're full of shit. What way should they be deported? What way should this illegal have been deported? Go ahead, Rick. Tell me. You keep saying not innocent. Who's innocent in this situation? Was he here illegally? Yes or no? He did have a court hearing. The court hearing denied his bail and suspected he was a member of MS-13. He had a court hearing. It said that he absolutely wasn't illegal. So send him back. What's the problem? Why shouldn't he have been sent back? What makes him innocent? What is he innocent of? He's not being charged with the crime. He's being deported because he is illegal. Can't call in, I'm on mobile. Can't do call-ins when I'm on the phone. What are we talking about? Right, that sums it up. Sitting here arguing. Wait, what are we talking about again? I can't remember what I'm arguing about. There it is. That sums it up. Yes, do it, but not like this. Innocent. Innocent of what? Is it illegal? Yeah. Okay, so what are you saying innocent of? Wait, what are we talking about? I'm not someone who's heartless. I'm not, but I've been arguing with my audience about the invocation of the Alien Enemy Act and how that's playing out for the past 2 weeks. You can send him back, but not Torger. I do think that English isn't his first language. So I'll give him a break. Cool, he got sent back. Great, then you have nothing to complain about. He's from Austria. Okay, send him to Austria. Yeah, that we gotta avoid the Torger. You understand that this same process is going to play out if Trump follows through and does deportations to the scale that he's saying. Thanks. I'm glad I look good, GoodLogic. Then you understand that you're going to hear these sob stories every week. Every week. I have an acquaintance, and I remember they put on Facebook pictures of their man, their baby daddy, being led out through their front yard in handcuffs. It was a video, actually. Led through the front yard in handcuffs as his children. She's screaming, his children are watching this. They have to watch this. This is inhumane. See, he had children with other women, and he wasn't paying child support. So he was warned over and over again for like 3-4 years, and finally they arrested him. And then within a couple weeks, they got the money to pay the back child support, and he got out of jail. I guess he shouldn't have been taken to jail, right? Oh, the sob story. How could they take a father away from his children? Can you think of a crime that you couldn't make that same argument for? Oh, that poor serial killer. He has children. How could you lock him up? That's separating families. By the way, where was all these people's big hearts for the January 6th people? I didn't remember hearing about family separations there. Or about the pro-life protesters that were thrown in jail. Didn't hear about family separations there, did you? Mystic7, thanks for the $10, says, hey, Rob, I'm subbed and primarily watch you on Twitch. When will you be back on Twitch? Never. I will not be back on Twitch. Twitch banned me for 30 days, while at the same time, I got banned basically because a person that I was on with, Connor, was using homophobic slurs over and over. He got a 7-day ban. I got a 30-day ban. Meanwhile, Hassan threatened to kill a sitting U.S. politician. He got a 1.5-day ban. So I'm not going back to Twitch ever, because here's the problem. I could say, fuck it, go back to Twitch until they ban me forever. But the problem with that is, anytime you stream with another person, Twitch's terms of service is, if you stream with someone who is banned on Twitch, then you yourself get banned. And so if I end up getting permanently banned on Twitch, what will happen will be, every single time I do a panel or I do an interview with a person, I'll have to say, are you streaming on Twitch? And then if they're streaming on Twitch, I'll have to say, well, you can't stream on Twitch because I'm banned on Twitch. So the best thing I could do is to avoid Twitch completely, which is what I'm going to do. Ben, thanks so much for $5. Says, Live for Life types exactly like HN. It's his account. It's obvious. I don't know. If I can't remember, I think I have this Lib4 guy I think he's just blatantly a troll that's just getting a rise out of everyone. I think he may be the guy one time that was going at my brother in the chat because I had blatant communist propaganda behind me on the wall, which is just blatant trolling. So, yeah, unfortunately, I'm so sorry to my Twitch audience, but at this point, it's clear that Twitch has such an axe to grind with me that just a video like this could give me a strike, so whatever. Yeah, I am sorry about that, Mystic. And it was nice because on Twitch, people get one free subscription a month if they're a member of Amazon Prime. And so you get a lot of people that are willing to donate their subscription to you, and it doesn't really cost them any money. But I have to give that up. But that's where we're at with these, with the Atlantic story. Then another argument that they're making is J.D. Vance came out and said all this, said he was convicted of being MS-13. He wasn't convicted. He wasn't convicted. True. You don't get convicted of being in a crime. What Vance should have said was he was found enough proof for a judge to deny him bail because he was suspected of being a member of MS-13. A judge found a standard of proof enough to keep this guy from getting out on bail that he was a member of MS-13. Technically, that's not convicted of. There you go, semantics. That's the argument that the left wants to play. He wasn't convicted. He was just accepted as likely a member of MS-13. Remember, you don't have to be convicted in order to be deported. So the argument's moot anyways. That is semantics. That is exactly semantics. A judge finding you to be a member of MS-13 in a legal capacity. But it wasn't a conviction. It was just the judge saying, yeah, you're most likely a member of MS-13. Cool. Yes, I understand the founding fathers say that there's a difference for conviction versus just a judge denying you bail on something. Luckily for us, as a non-citizen and a person that was here illegally, the founding fathers would also say that this person isn't entitled to the exact legal protections that those of us that are U.S. citizens are. Therefore, it doesn't rise to the level of having to be convicted in order to be punished. In fact, the Supreme Court has said that being deported itself isn't a punishment. There was a court of law that heard claims that this guy was a member of MS-13, and the court accepted those claims. The bail denial did not get overturned on appeal unless I'm missing something. Or rather, let me rephrase, not in this sense. I believe the guy was allowed to go home, but it was never said, oh, this guy's not a member of MS-13. We don't believe that. I don't know what you're talking about, Jack Sheridan. Says, Rob, I don't have a problem deporting people. My issue is we didn't start doing this under Trump. So you're pissed about his first term? Okay, cool. I don't give a shit that he won't escape from there. Sorry. Blame the people that have exploited the system. Where would you send this guy if not there, Rick? Where would you send him? If not to his home country, where would you send him? If his home country says, we think that he's a terrorist, I could make the claim we shouldn't even deport people to the UK because the UK has hate speech laws, which are a human rights violation. You could get jailed for making a joke in the UK. Therefore, we can't deport anyone to the UK. Yes, El Salvador is his home country. You have no clue what you're talking about. Yes, it is his home country. No. Yes. It is his home country. Be careful, the Brits are watching. I know. But still what? Come on. Where would you send him if not El Salvador? Let's say definitively they prove he's a member of MS-13. Now what? The United States just has to take him? Because the country he came from would be like, well, we think we have him on crimes that we'll charge him for. We have to say, no, we don't like that. Who are you to fucking judge El Salvador? Notice that no one like Rick here or any of the lefties or the New York Times or any of those, notice none of them spoke up to help El Salvador when it was the murder capital of the world. They didn't give a shit about that. They only cared when they elected a populist leader that came in and said, enough of this shit, we're locking people up. Now that it's one of the least homicides in the world, now they're like, we don't like how you went about it. We don't like that. We don't like how your legal system operates. Tough shit, I guess. You know what the people of El Salvador didn't like? Being murdered. They didn't care for that. Now, I know that high and mighty intellectual Westerners in very liberal areas on ivory towers and academia say, how dare you, El Salvadorian people, shut up and take your murders. How dare you have a legal system that we find offensive as we arrest people for hate speech and memes. I don't give a shit where you're from. You can claim you're not a lefty. I don't give a shit about that either. You're arguing as if you are a lefty on this. We can't deport this guy back to his country of origin. Sorry. Now, was there a time and a place where there could be a couple hundred people a year that we would say, oh, they're fleeing some sort of persecution in their country and we're willing to accept? Sure. And maybe we'll get back to there someday. But right now we have 12 million people that were left here under the last 4 years. Sorry. The system's been exploited. This is a completely different argument. I shouldn't even make it, but it's reminiscent of, so tangential. Do you ever notice how you'll see all these videos of police interactions after the death of George Floyd, where you'll see people being arrested? What's the first thing they yell? What do they yell? It's like clockwork now. Probably 1/3 of the videos I see of people being arrested. What do they start to yell? Anyone? Yeah, that's right, Georgie. Yeah, I can't breathe. That's what they yell. They've learned the code word, what to say. I can't breathe. Just like with Asylum. I'm fearful of my home country. There's gangs there. I'm fleeing gangs. So now you gotta let me stay forever. Sorry. Oh, okay, we won't send you back to your home country. We'll take the El Salvadorians and we'll send you to, Argentina. And then we'll take the Argentinians and we'll send you to El Salvador. But you can't do that. That's cruel. You can't send them to a country they've never been to. That's cruel. Okay, then what's the remedy? Well, shucks. I guess they'll have to stay. Which is what we wanted in the first place. By the way, this is the same shit. The same tricks that they play, the bullshit that they play. Make no mistake, this is what they want. They want open borders, not in their neighborhoods, though. Not that they don't want them in Martha's Vineyard. Get the fuck out of here, poors. Come mow our grass and then live outside of town. Take our garbage. But you're not our fucking contemporaries. We're not living amongst you fucking filth. Says these wealthy assholes that demand open borders from the rest of us. This is the same shit that they're doing now. See, they wanted the Langford bill, right? And we were told, well, you can't secure the border without the bipartisan Langford bill. That's the only way to secure the border. And the fact that you would be against it just proves that you don't really give a shit about the border. Well, what'd the border do? It enshrined up to like 4,000 or 5,000 illegals a day coming across before the provisions within that bill could take place. And I said, one of the many problems with this bill is, if that's voted for, and enough Republicans and Democrats vote for it, then the Democrats will make the argument, well, you voted to allow these 4,000 people a day in, so they're legal. They're legal. You said that they were like, you can't just summarily kick them all out now. Now they need due process. Now they have to go through the appeals. They got to go through and there's a backlog. They're going to be here for years and years. And then once they're here for so long, they'll say, well, they've already been here for so long. They have roots. You can't kick them out now. Don't believe me? Remember in Springfield, Ohio, where you had all these Haitians that were brought in? And then Trump was like, we're going to send these Haitians back. What was the first thing Democrats said? You can't send them back. They're legal. These aren't illegals. They're legal. Because Biden used his pen to say they're legal. Same with some people from Venezuela. You say, yeah, you ask the average American. The average American, believe it or not, I think the average American's more conservative than most people give value to. But they're not radical. They're not radically right-wing. They're not. If you ask the average American in like 1990, hey, what do you think about this? There are people that are fleeing areas of the world where there's a lot of crazy shit going on, whether it be some sort of civil war, or maybe they're fleeing that their own government is trying to kill them. Do you think we should allow those people temporarily into the United States until we can find a safe place for them? The majority of Americans would have been like, yeah, sure. And then the open border people said, that's great, that's great. Oh, and here's 15 million of them. There you go. And now they're like, wait, no. By the way, I forget the name of the act in the 60s, like the Immigration Act, blah, blah, blah. Famously, you had all of these politicians ensuring their bases, oh, this isn't going to like radically change the demographic makeup of this country. It won't do that. Why? Why were they saying that? It's almost like the people that were here, that were the voters, that were the citizens, wouldn't want that. And then, of course, when that starts to occur, people are like, well, you're racist if you have a problem with it. Then why did you lie in the first place? Why didn't you tell those people, well, you're racist if you don't want this? Why'd you lie to them? It was like with Obamacare. Well, we had to lie to people to get it to pass. Because we know better than them, those fucking racist bigots. That's who these people are. They don't give a fuck about this guy. They don't care. They'll pretend to give... What they give a shit about is opening the borders to this country. That's what they care about. They want to flood all of these people in. They don't want them deported. Well, the asylum laws, if you have a problem with it, then they should just be changed. Remember, when Trump first ran for office in 2016, one of the easy, like, you all tell me, what were the big issues that Trump was running on in 2016? Like, name your top 1, 2, or 3. What were they? What was Make America Great Again? The easiest codified, simplest thing that Trump was saying, it wasn't throw Hillary in jail. The easiest thing was drain the swamp. That was, yeah. But other than that, what was the biggest thing? Nope, wasn't Obamacare. America first, but what was the easiest policy? Border wall. Protect the border. Build the wall. And he won the nomination. And I remember, because I was into politics even back then, the people that were like the traditional Republican, like, you know, sort of think tanks, and they were like, oh, okay, Trump, now that you won the nomination, pull back. That's not a winning argument. Republicans never ran on that shit. Did Romney run on border security in 2012? Did McCain in 2008? Do you recall W. Bush talking a lot about it? The truth is, Republicans enjoyed this as well, for various reasons. One, they like the cheap labor that goes to their donor class. Second, they too, many of them are globalist and stand to make money from it. They don't give a shit about the citizens of this country. They care about entrenching power for them and the other people that really run the show. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to erode national identity and nationalism. And so one of the easiest ways to do that is to import cheap labor from people that don't have a geographic or historical connection to the area that will further erode the middle class and a sense of national identity. That's the point. So they constantly, well, we have these asylum laws that we all stood by and let happen. We let Joe Biden, we just stood by and let him fucking import all these people. Ah, shucks, what can we do now? Shucks. Sorry, it's just going to take years and years and years and decades to be able to remove anybody. Sorry, it's the way it is. Fuck that shit. You should be given a chance to prove in some sort of hearing that you are a citizen of this country. If you're not, go. See ya. Now, I would be willing to make exceptions for people that right now, I would give a grace period, and I think Trump's acknowledged that they are going to do this somewhat. Give a grace period. If you're illegal and you come to us and say that you're illegal, you will be deported, but we will try to give a pathway back to you if you're not a criminal, you're not suspected of being in a criminal gang, you're not a net drain on our country. We'll find a way to get you back in legally, not to be a citizen, but that you could have legal status here as long as you're abiding by the law and not doing anything that's expressly anti-American. I'd be willing to offer that. But that's it. Those that have chosen to continue to be here legally, and I would give that grace period to everyone who's claimed asylum as well. We're no longer accepting asylum. It will no longer evaluate into our considerations. However, you can come in for a hearing, and if you could prove that you are a net positive to our country and that you don't have connections to criminal enterprises and you aren't doing things that we think are antithetical to the United States, then yeah, we'll consider giving you legal status. Not if you had speeding tickets and then didn't show up to your court hearings, and that if you were here for 7 years and never said anything and then get picked up and then you scream asylum, too bad. I think Trump should, I think Congress should come out and say we're no longer accepting asylum claims. I think Trump should press the issue. I really do. I think that Trump should be out there and say the asylum laws in this country are bullshit. We no longer care about international law with the asylum stuff. It is clear that this is being massively exploited. The vast majority of the people claiming asylum aren't really claiming asylum. They are economic migrants. We are no longer accepting any asylum seekers, and we will be revoking everyone who still has a pending claim their asylum charges. Sorry. There are plenty of other great countries. If the rest of the world wants to complain that we're violating international law, what we'll do is give them a plane ticket to your country. So France, you have a problem with it? Germany, you have a problem with it? UK, you have a problem with it? We'll ship you 5 to 10 million of the people claiming asylum, and then you can deal with them, right? Ben for $2 says, Rob, do you think Jesse Lee Peterson is funny? I do think he's funny. Keir Starmer loves the immigrants, right? Send them to UK. Carney loves immigrants, send them to Canada. If they say, hey, you can't violate international law like that, just be like, hey, if you feel that way, you're right. Maybe they shouldn't go back to Venezuela. Maybe they shouldn't go back to El Salvador. How about we send them to you? Oh, no? Then we're going to send them back. Sorry. We feel that our country's been inundated. That's what needs to happen. And I'm sorry, I would not have felt this way 20 years ago. Well, partly because I was 20 and I was drinking. But I don't say it because I'm a cold person. I say it because it's a problem that has gotten so outrageous that it now requires strong solutions. I have a friend that owns about 50 acres of forest land. And they're used for years. There were people that would ride their four-wheelers and dirt bikes and shit like that. He never posted his land. He was just like, cool. Then it got to be a problem. Constantly finding garbage. Constantly finding people intentionally damaging his property. It got to the point where you couldn't even safely walk through without glass bottles everywhere, junk everywhere. So he posted his land and said, okay, no one's welcome here now. And people bitch about it. Well, that's ridiculous. You ruined it. or other people ruined it for people. He was more than happy to allow it to occur when it was just people that were respectful. But once it became a problem, the landowner was like, no, then no one. Maybe if a respectful individual approached him and said, look, can I and my wife get permission for us to come? And we assure you we're going to treat your land. Maybe he would say, okay, I'll make an exception for you. That's the same situation we're in now. It's been exploited. The American people are fed up. That's why even though we see all of these news stories that are dominating the conversation, polling, which again, take with a grain of salt, shows over and over again, the American people are like, yeah, we want the deportations. We want them. Yes. Some have a problem with the Alien Enemy Act stuff. But in general, the deportations, they're like, yep. Well, Jeremiah Brown, I think that ultimately what you're likely to see is Trump's going to fall vastly short of the deportation numbers that he claimed. I think that you'll see more self-deportation. But they should set the precedent. We pick you up for anything. We pick you up for a speeding ticket and you're here illegally, you're fucking gone. That's it. Make it so the illegals that are here are like, shit, maybe I gotta get my effects in order and get the fuck out of here because someday I'll get caught for something. Then we can have more self-deportations. Great. Well, as far as making it harder for them to be here in everyday life, I think getting rid of their social security numbers, any that got them, making sure that they're not receiving any government benefits, even though we were all told they weren't. Use the executive authority to states that are sanctuary states and cities, etc. Make stuff shittier for them. Send them more illegals. Send all the illegals there. There's no consequence if they don't self-deport. Well, except getting deported. Again, there is the ought and there is the is. Will Trump deport all of these people, as many as he's claimed? Probably not. Ought he? Yes. There are people self-deporting. But that's where we're at today, so I feel bad because I gave a 24-hour ban. I just want to say to, what's the name of the dude? The Base Stoned yesterday that I gave a 24-hour ban, that it was all my fault. I panicked and banned you because you basically said you would have very harsh punishments that would probably be against TOS. Yeah, Brimstone. Very harsh punishments that would be against TOS. But in fairness, you were just answering my question. So I panicked. I think that it's a shit argument. I still massively disagree with you. But I set him up inadvertently. But I'm now in a position where people are screenshotting things my audience is saying and trying to get me banned because that's how these fucking people operate. Now I'm on notice, so I have to be careful. Yeah, justice for Brim. So I hope he comes back. I hope I didn't chase him away forever. We'll do a 5-minute shaming session of me led by Brimstone if he comes back. Entrapment. I entrapped Brimstone, yeah. But yeah. The more I thought, in the moment, I was like, oh, fuck, this guy's calling for that. And then I gave him a 24-hour ban. And then I was like, as I thought about it later in the night, I was like, I mean, I did fucking straight up ask him. It's not like he came in guns ablaze and was like, this is what I would do to these fucking people. I kind of was like, wait a minute. If you're saying it's the same as self-defense, would you say that if someone, you know, you get it. Alrighty. So that's that. Now, I don't know. I'm going to try to stream a little from the hotels this weekend. Here's the deal. My wife will come on stream with me, or it doesn't matter if she's in the background or stuff like that. That's no big deal. But I decided a long time ago, talking to my wife, that we're not going to have my son on camera. And so you have to be careful if you're like in a hotel that's one room, making sure that my son's not going to be on camera. So if I get a chance to, like, I don't know, if there's a separate room or something like that, or if my son falls asleep, I'll try to do like an hour mobile stream Wednesday, Thursday night. But I don't know that I'll have that chance. So it is what it is. So you might hear from me, you may not. I did watch Pisco debate GoodLogic. My regular video up on YouTube yesterday was about part of that. And then that will actually be the first debate review that I do. Now, Black Elk, my editor, is setting up sort of this debate review show. We're kicking around ideas of exactly how to do it. And I think Black Elk's going to try to take my live stream talking about that debate from the other day and coalesce that into like a 50-minute or a 45-minute video. And he's going to edit in scenes from that debate intermittent with me talking about it. But yeah, I did a live stream about it. You can check if you go to YouTube and you click live, so there's shorts, there's videos, and there's live. If you click live, it was from last week. It says some stuff I watched tonight, Joe Doge interview and Tim Pool debate. And you can see my review of that debate. So I don't think either Pisco or GoodLogic did terribly. In a nutshell, I'll say I think Tim Pool talked way too much. Pisco intentionally talked at Tim Pool. One, because Tim has a bigger audience, and second, Tim is a weaker debater. I thought when GoodLogic did talk that Pisco didn't have a good answer to sort of the things that GoodLogic was saying. Jack of Trades, thanks so much for the $5. Says, coming nearby, Ocean City, Maryland for July 4th week. Closest I've been that way since I was in New York City. Oh yeah, Ocean City. I've been there many a time. Well, not many a time. My brother used to sell hermit crabs on the boardwalk in Ocean City. I think he liked it. And I had a bunch of friends that were always down that way that had different jobs on the boardwalk. So, yeah, you know, it's Tim's show. Tim's better than me as far as cultivating an audience. So I can't criticize Tim on that. But as far as a moderator, he has a very different ideology on moderation than me. For me, if I'm moderating two people debating, I want to be heard from as little as possible until the very end, in which time I might ask each side equal amounts of questions. But my goal would be, if you just tune in and you see me moderating, that you would have no idea which side of the argument I favored. That would be my intent. I try to stay out of it as much as possible. Tim, usually, it's actually harder to be a guest on Tim Pool's show during a debate and agree with him than disagree with him. Because if you agree with him, you're barely going to get to speak, because Tim's going to speak the entire time. And so you just have to resign yourself to that. Like, okay, I'm not going to get much time to speak. I think it's unfortunate, because I think GoodLogic's very good. And I think a lot of time he was making very good points that ended up being brushed aside, because Tim would be making a different tangential point, and then Pisco would go back and forth with Tim, and GoodLogic's point would be lost in the weeds until like 15 minutes later when GoodLogic would be like, yeah, again, I already addressed this. Optically, I see how that could look advantageous for Pisco, but on the other hand, I think sometimes Pisco comes across as a little unhinged and a little sort of spurging out, particularly, like, I think a lot of people don't like this constant, like, well, let's take these hypotheticals to like the ridiculous extent. It's okay to do that somewhat, but Pisco seems to do it all the time in ways that don't even remotely make sense. So like he was talking like, oh, can we just kick people out for liking French bread? It's like, yeah, okay, man. So it's what it is. But be looking in the next couple weeks, you'll see that video come up. And I think maybe tomorrow's video will be a little bit about the GoodLogic Pisco debate, though I could be wrong. Maybe it's me talking to Pisco is what the video is tomorrow. But be on the lookout. That a first official debate review will be coming out. Freedom bread, right? That's right. Fucking freedom fries, freedom bread. All right. Thanks so much, everyone. I hope you've had a great April Fool's Day today. Live for Learn's going to acknowledge to everyone that Live for Life, that it's all an April Fool's joke and he's really a Trump supporter and he's just trolling you all. So hopefully I'll be streaming tomorrow night, but if not, I think everyone understands that I got this little mini vacation. So maybe the next time you'll see me, maybe Friday evening. I'll try to stream Friday evening, though, for sure. So, all right. Thanks so much, everyone. I'm going to go call my wife and son now. I like to call. He's getting to the age where soon he'll actually, it's still not there, but I'm really looking forward to being able to call him, voice call, or video call him at night and like read to him. Unfortunately, he doesn't have the patience to sit in front of a phone right now. So, but I am going to call him here. So, all right. Thanks so much, everyone. Thank you particularly to everyone that donated. I really appreciate it. Thanks to everyone who participated in the chat. We will talk to you all soon. As always, have a good one.